What's up guys, it's Kalen from Game for Pancakes. Today I'm going to show you guys what I made in my, beginning jewelry class. This is the first jewelry class I've ever taken, so lots of new materials I've never worked in. This class was mostly fabrication, I guess is how you would put it, rather than making wax models and then casting them in molten metal. I did more of that in my sculpture class, but in my jewelry class it was mostly cutting out sheet metal and soldering it together. So kind of as like a first project, we did these little pendant charm things with letters. I'll try and get these in nice lighting. So this was copper on copper with a brass ring, just real simple. Kind of hard to get proper colors here, but so it was just cutting it out of sheet metal, soldering it onto a sheet of metal. I think this one was called sweat soldering, where you heat up like the back of the K, put solder on it, wait for the solder to melt while torching it, and then clean it up, put it on top of this sheet here, and then heat the whole thing until the solder melts again, kind of gluing it onto place. Something similar I had to do with the ring. It's soldered together. This was a brass wire at one point. I also made a letter P because my initials are KVP, but I misplaced the P for the time being, but I'm not really proud of the P. This was a brass on copper piece. This is I think the only soldering I did on this one was on the ring here, and then on this little bear paw. So the bear paw was called a decorative rivet, where you take like a sheet of copper and you solder a copper wire to the back of it, having this little thing come off it. Then you snip it real close, and then you drill a hole in the metal, you put it through, and then you hammer it flat on the other side to kind of widen the wire so it stays in place. I did that here as well on this corner. I wanted to make a flush rivet where you flatten it out into a hole that's kind of tapered so that it widens but also stays flat. I didn't really care about the back. And then this is a tube rivet going around the hole for the ring, where it's a brass tube. You push it through the hole and then you hammer it wide with a ball peen hammer so that it opens from the inside out instead of collapsing on itself, kind of a thing. I know that it's crooked. I did that on purpose so that when you hang it, the B is right way up, but the background is incorrect, which is, I wanted to have the B and the K kind of on the same plane rather than the B being like that, but whatever. So those were the first two projects. And then we went on to kind of texturing, where you take a hammer and a little stippling tool and you just make a whole bunch of designs. I just went in with one tool because I was too lazy to go in with multiple tools. I did a tool that was sort of like a dash shape, and I just made this skull. So I did the outlines like I would like a drawing, and then I used the dash lightly to make kind of a shadowy texture. And this is just like a little keychain little thing. I don't think I soldered this ring. No, I didn't solder this ring, so I can't really use this as like a keychain. If I get like a key ring, I could probably do that. That'd be still a pretty cool keychain, or it'd be a necklace charm, I suppose. After that, we learned how to etch. So etching is where you use like an acid to eat the metal away. So So what we did with something like this is you take a piece of brass, you spray it with black spray paint, do like 2 coats to cover the side completely. Then you take a sharp tool like a knife, or in some cases like the tip of a pencil, and you just kind of carve away at the paint until the metal is showing. You have to kind of think in negative, so that the black is what will end up being the lighter color, and the metal color will end up being what's like receded. In my case, I did make them blacks by rubbing a black finish into the crevices. But then you attach a copper plate to the back and a copper wire coming out of the acid bath, electrify the whole thing so that there's an electric current running through the acid bath. Whole bunch of science involved, but I'm not too keen on the specifics. But this ended up being, and I also soldered a pin onto the back so that you can wear it. I had made my pin wire a bit too thick. This is about ½ an inch thick. I don't wear clothing that thick, so I should have either cut it shorter or gotten a smaller pre-made one. But it's a lined piece of paper with a mechanical pencil and a pen, because I like to draw a lot. I drilled holes in the paper. I thought that would be a nice touch. And then to kind of make it a matching set, I also did a drawing tablet. Let's see if I can get that in the light. So we got my drawing tablet, which is an Oogie, or Uji, or however you want to pronounce it. So it has this little kickstand in the back. This is the wireless pen, and then I use the drawing program Krita, which I have it set up like this. I had initially had a miniature version of this eye in the corner as like a preview window, but I forgot to carve that in when I was scratching on the paint. But this one has a better length wire tab on the back, so I can actually wear this. I wear this on my jacket a lot. I've also gotten into the habit of taking a blank white canvas and putting pins on it, which I think ended up being a pretty cool idea. My brother gave me that idea. So it's a kind of an idea for displaying pins if you don't want to wear them and you don't want to just keep them in a box. Probably in terms of progression, I'll probably show you this bead next. This is the Triforce, clearly. So what I did was you take sheets. I did brass. Take sheets of brass, and then you take a thin sheet of brass, and you kind of shape it into, in my case, a triangle, and then you solder the wall onto a bigger piece so that it's better heat distribution or whatever. And then you do the same, then you cut that away so that it's flat in between this wall and the bottom. And then you also have to have a hole in it somewhere, so it was required to have 2 holes in the top, but I also wanted to have this hole in the middle. If you don't have a hole and you create a solid box of metal that you're superheating all the time, it's gonna explode. So because of air pressure and heat and whatever. But so this was initially a smaller triangle so that it actually had some wall substance up here. And I soldered that together the same way I did the bottom layer. Cut away the outside and then filed the triangle to its proper dimensions, and then lots of sanding, lots of filing, lots of buffing to get this kind of perfect. You can only really tell that it's multiple pieces because you can see like a fine silver line in between them, but there's no like surface indents letting you know that it's there. So I'll make this into a necklace at some point. And then we started getting into rings. This was the first ring I made. It's copper. It's a copper band, as my professor would call it. I made it a bit too small initially, So what I did was I took a ball peen hammer to it while it was on something called a ring mandrel, which is like a long spike that gets wider as it goes down, and it has numbers on it telling you what size ring it's on and what size it is. If you take a ball peen to it while it's on that, the constant indenting of the metal will eventually expand the ring in every direction, causing it to go up, I think about half a size to a size maybe. But now it fits. It's a bit snug, but I like it. It's got this nice hammer texture. This is probably the tightest ring I have right now. In terms of progression, again, I think I did this one next. This is a silver ring, and we were given pieces of silver to do this with. This was just like a strip of it. This is sterling silver, not like fine silver or anything. But oh, I forgot to mention, but you can kind of see on this one there's you can kind of see solder on the inside of the ring there. That's where it's attached. You can really see on the outside on this one, but on the silver one there's no way to indicate where that solder seam is. But yeah, this one fits a lot nicer, I think. I wear this one a lot. I have my hands swell up a lot for some reason, so I can only really wear the ring when my hands aren't swollen. I don't know what causes it, but my hand will go up in sizes. Sometimes this is as far as I can get the ring on, sometimes I can get it on. Sometimes it'll get stuck on there for about an hour until my hands unswell and I can take it off. This one was a bit more complex. This was kind of extra credit. It was mixing two different projects. So it was extra credit to make rings out of just wire, and then I also combined it with a stone setting, which was its own project. I have 2 copper wires and a silver wire soldered together to make this kind of Oreo design kind of a thing, and then this is just I don't remember what the name of the stone was. It was just kind of in the donation bin in class, and then I put a bezel around it, which is what keeps the stone in place. And then this one probably fits the best. It doesn't fit my hand with my aesthetic, with what I like in jewelry, but it probably fits the best, and it looks interesting. Next is the big narrative project. This one was a lot of work. Ooh, it's tiring to think about. So this is 1, 2, 3 different layers of metal. So we've got this back layer, which is copper, which I've cut out into the shape of flames. This is a pin, by the way. There's actually almost no soldering in any of this. So I did the flames. I etched a design into the flames to kind of make it double layered so that there's an outer layer of flames and an inner layer. Kind of hard to tell unless I point that out. And there's this brass ring, which I tried to have like a brick texture, but the top layer kind of blocks it. And then the top layer is all decorative rivets, doing different dice for Dungeons and Dragons. We got the 10-sided, the 12, the 4, the 6, the 8, and then the percentage die. And then I have this big resin red D20 with gold paint I attached to the middle of it. And then I had this extra piece of silver from my ring project, so I etched it in the silver etch to make the and symbol from Dungeons and Dragons. The little scroll at the top for Dungeons and Dragons kind of came out funny, but yeah. So the dice are all decorative riveted to the brass ring, and then the Dungeons and Dragons scroll and the and symbol go through both pieces, and then that's why there's only 2 dots on the back, because it'd be really hard to line up, what is that, 8 holes perfectly. So I only did 2 holes. But yeah, this piece looks really cool being worn. It's pretty big. But yeah. My final project is still being graded. It is in my jewelry class right now. I can go pick that up in about half an hour, and I will come back to this video then. And I'm back. So here's my little baggie that I turned in with my final project in it. So it's a brass ring and a hollow form, which is what a bead is basically. So there's actually an outer, you can see the edge of it here. So there's one inner ring, which is the size of my finger, and there's another ring outside of that, which these line textures are on. And that is like a little bit off of the ring shape to give the stone a place to sit into without poking into my finger. And then the walls were made of this piece, and then these, I don't know, runners or ledges or whatever you want to call them, are going around it. I was going to have them go all the way around, but I kind of liked how everything just kind of stops at this end, and then I stamped a little K on it, make it look intentional kind of a thing. And then so I have all these little cloth things that holding down this little gem thing. I'm pretty sure it's glass. It was donated to the jewelry department, so it's not going to be like a real emerald or anything. But yeah, so there's these lines on the inside were made by etching the metal. It was going to be like a sort of like a leathery skin, fades into like a scales kind of a thing to make it look like it had a dragon aspect to it, and then the little claw things were going to be like claws or teeth or something. I don't know. I like it. It fits pretty well. I mean, nice and snug. This is probably, I mean, I would wear it all the time, but it just looks so kind of fancy that it seems like it would be like a special occasion kind of thing. Also, it just kind of looks like something I'd wear to D&D or something like that. But yeah, I like it. But yeah, so let me put everything out that I covered for this class. There we go. And then the big boy right in the back. So yeah, this is everything I made in jewelry this semester. Hopefully the sculpture video came out before this, and I plan on putting out my ceramic class pieces after Christmas, because that video will have spoilers for people's Christmas presents. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.